Hey y'all, welcome back to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And we are back this week with something that was actually a pretty big hit for us. We are back with another episode of Preview 2022, where we are going to be discussing a kind of fucky election coming up in America's midterms.
The audience downloads have spoken. You love a trash fire.
It's true. I mean, I imagine we do have a lot of listeners in Europe, so I feel like it's just you're just sitting there eating popcorn and just
snacking on some unprocessed raw cheese.
Oh my God, that actually sounds great.
Yep.
That's a life right there. But yeah, so today we are going to be talking about a race that I think could be one hell of a bellwether for Trumpism and general fascism in America. So, you know, a real fun time.
You say this about every recent election, and I'm not saying you're not wrong. I'm just saying I die a little bit more every time.
Yeah, I will say this is one that after I was done researching it, I had a really weird depression afterwards for a while, and I couldn't really define why. But we'll talk about it at the end, because I think today in the middle of work, I figured it out.
Okay.
With a start like that, how could you not want to listen?
Hooray.
So as a bit of a recent history review, back in January, we kind of had a little bit of a coup attempt. And following that, Congress started a whole new round of impeachment hearings for President Trump. Now, once again, Trump would not be convicted by the Senate, but the House was able to impeach. But what made this round so different than the first one is that there were 10 Republicans who stepped forward and voted in support of impeachment. And since Trump is petty as fuck, all 10 of those members of Congress are going to be facing very intense primaries full of Trumpists seeking to oust them. And today, we'll be starting with the Republican most at risk of losing her seat, Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
Oh, Liz.
Look, I have been carrying a decent amount of respect and pity for Liz Cheney. So I had also completely forgotten just everything about her the moment that she became the face of impeachment.
The face of any form of reasoning and reality.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that we really need to do is really look at Liz's history, because since she has become the figurehead of GOP resistance, she's just kind of undergone this huge rebranding that I don't think any of us expected.
No, and I think it's important to contextualize it with the thing she actually has done leading up to this one singular moment.
Yep.
Of reason and reality.
Yeah.
This is if there were ever a person who embodied the maxim, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yep.
That's where we are with Liz Cheney.
100%. So a little more recent history. She has been removed by GOP party leadership from her position as the third ranking party member in Congress. She has been replaced by Elise Stefanik, who is just a real fun character out of New York. And has become a bit of a liberal hero for poise under extreme pressure, which is a nice way of saying doing the bare goddamn minimum.
Yeah.
Which has, done a very good job of helping a lot of people forget who Liz Cheney is and her probable reasoning for why she felt compelled to openly defy the God King of MAGA. So for this particular race, we're going to be focusing really heavily on the Republican primary. And where better to start than with the story of the incumbent. Sorry, I'm getting a Charlie horse in my foot. God.
Oh no!
Damn it. Bad timing. Ow. Oh my God. Fuck it.
Tonight on Extreme Podcasting.
Wicka, wicka, wicka. Yeah, man. I fucking sit at weird angles and give my feet Charlie horses. It's like my body is rejecting the premise of this episode.
Yeah, man. I had to eat a banana real quick because I could tell my body was low on potassium.
These podcasting troubles. Anyway, Elizabeth Lynn Cheney was born in Madison, Wisconsin in 1966. At the time, her parents were students at the University of Wisconsin, but in the future, they would both become Vice President and Second Lady Dick and Lynn Cheney. So Liz's childhood would be fairly normal-ish, but would suddenly shift when her father decided to move back to Wyoming and run for Congress. Now, granted, Dick hadn't lived in Wyoming since he was in high school, but why would that ever stop a Cheney? So in 1978, the family moved there for a year. Dick would win the election, and Liz would move out to McLean, Virginia to finish up high school in 1984. She'd go on to graduate from Colorado College in 1988 with a Bachelor in the Arts, and her thesis was titled The Evolution of Presidential War Powers. And yeah, it's probably something her dad and his future boss found very fucking interesting.
Oof. Oh, wow. It's like Shakespearean levels of irony.
It's one of those things that, I know Dick Cheney didn't write her thesis for her. I don't think she, was given a degree, but it sounds like if there was anything, he'd be like, I really want you to look into this for me. It can be your thesis. Just show me what you find.
Or just when you run in circles where Henry Kissinger might be over at the house, why not fucking ask the source?
God. Yeah.
Fuck books. The man's right there.
Either way, it's now 1989, and Liz needs herself a job. Lucky for her, her dad had just been appointed the Secretary of Defense by George H.W. Bush. And turns out a new administration has tons of new jobs open for people with the right connections. So 1 year out of college, Liz Cheney began working in the State Department. And she would eventually switch over to working for USAID, which is an agency that decides where foreign civilian funding is sent. But she would end up resigning from that job in 1993. Because it turns out her dad's pal and future Deputy Secretary of State, Richard Armitage, had an opening at his consulting firm. So Liz hopped over there. She stuck it out for a few years before moving to Illinois, getting her law degree at the University of Chicago in 1996, and then began a career focusing on international law. Between 1996 and 2002, her CV would end up being the sort of thing that millennials get made fun of for, because she would hop from these following jobs. She was a consultant for the International Finance Corporation. She was special assistant to the Deputy Secretary of State for assistance to the former USSR. And finally, she worked again for USAID as an officer in Budapest and Warsaw within 6 years.
So for longtime listeners, you know this won't add up to anything good.
No.
Very, very young success and a lot of jobs in little time.
It's not great. But in 2002, she would make a return to the big leagues and would be appointed as Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs, which is a long way of saying that she is second in charge of a whole bureau that decides diplomacy between the United States and the countries in North Africa and the Middle East. So in a post 9/11 world, a real juicy job.
Yeah, after being in like Eastern Europe right after their Cold War ended.
Yep.
I mean, this is where it gets slightly complicated for me because on the one hand, like, yeah, grab the bull by the horns, madam, rocket up that corporate ladder. But then it's also like upon the shoulders of your father. Like, this is incredible nepotism.
Yeah, I think, speaking as a millennial, every job that all of us have is due to someone that we're friends with. I don't think any of us got a job by chance.
No.
So we knew someone and now we have a job.
And now we're so grateful to be employed.
Exactly. And so, if I had those contacts, I'd probably do the exact same fucking thing.
Oh, 100%.
But I would also be in the back of my mind just being like, everyone's going to think it's because of my dad, and I have to work twice as hard now to prove that wrong. And Liz, being a woman, probably has to work 4 times as hard to prove that wrong.
Yeah.
Either which way, Liz was placed in charge of the Middle East Partnership Initiative with the goal of creating a free trade partnership with countries in the region and improve education. And under Liz's guidance, the program budget increased by $100 million, and success was non-existent.
What?
Because it kind of turns out in a post 9/11 world, when the president is constantly talking about bombing one of the countries because he feels like it, they're not really going to take much, what's the word I'm looking for? Criticism on how they educate their people from America, especially when most of those countries are places where we did coups and regime changes. So when you go and you're like, hey, I want to help you guys do an education, they're like, no, we're good.
Please go away. Please, you've done enough.
Just leave us alone, please. This also would have been after the whole axis of evil thing came out, so it's not like you're in a good starting spot with Iran and Syria. It kind of narrows down your options. But Liz would end up staying at that job for 2 years. Then she left to work on the Bush-Cheney re-election campaign. She spearheaded the W Stands for Women campaign. Do you get it? To get more ladies into George W. And I hate to say it, it might have worked. Because between 2000 and 2004, Bush got 4% more support from women.
We're so quick to sell ourselves out.
I mean, it also might, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to consistently make fun of John Kerry's weird horse face and his droning, what's the name of the program that reads shit to you from Word?
Oh my God, like Speak and Spell?
Yeah. If like Word, Speak and Spell was a presidential candidate who is genuinely very smart, it's John Kerry. But I don't know. I have feelings about 2004. It wasn't great.
It wasn't great. I hate that I actively lived through that as a voting American.
It was no bueno all around. But yeah, so, Bush ends up getting 4% more support. He wins in 2004. And as thanks, Liz was reappointed right back to the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs and pretty much went right back to doing the same project she was working on before the campaign. But the big change, though, would come in 2006, when Liz was placed in charge of the Iran-Syria Policy and Operations Group of the Bureau. Now, it's a real boring name, but the group would end up with a budget of $80 million and was given,
Good Lord.
And was given 5 main goals. Goal 1, supply military aid to Oman, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates. 2, offer secret financial assistance to groups in Iran and Syria with the goal of regime change.
Oh my God.
3, create a development group that could control Iran's access to credit and banking services. 4, spy on potential interactions between Lebanon, Syria, Afghanistan, and terrorist groups. And 5, create media outreach to the people of Iran and Syria to encourage the idea of regime change.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's no one knew about it for about a year. And then ABC News found out about it and started asking fucking questions. And the big question was, hey, why do you have a whole organization that seems to be going completely contrary to what the Secretary of State wants?
Yeah, yikes.
Because at the time, Condoleezza Rice was working really hard to try to smooth over relations with Iran and Syria after the whole Axis of Evil thing. And yet, under her own fucking nose, you have all these people trying to do a regime change without her knowing, probably.
Yeah, and thinking back to 2006, I'm sure everyone in charge was just like, well, fucking duh, we're not going to have Condoleezza Rice go out there and say that shit. What are you, a moron?
Yeah.
No, we're going to have a completely separate like NGO doing this with way too much money.
Well, and you want to know the funny thing? They outsourced a lot of the work to another company.
You fucking can't. How lazy do you have to be?
That's how ABC News found out.
Oh my God.
And so they spent $80 million, and in 1 year, the whole thing was shut down. Just gone.
I'm going to be okay. I'm just still thinking of how all of my taxes go to a bloated, incompetent military. That's all.
Look, it's
fine.
But don't you feel safer knowing?
No! And I still can't bring shampoo on a plane.
Nope. But there's an army in Bahrain that has better weaponry than they did prior to 2006.
Yeah, and when they don't need it, Detroit cops pick it up.
Womp womp. So Liz would end up leaving the State Department after that whole plot was discovered and ended up hitching herself to Fred Thompson's presidential campaign. Now, if you don't know who Fred Thompson is, he is a senator, but you might recognize him more as an actor. He was on Law & Order SVU for 5 seasons where he played a conservative district attorney.
He was not acting.
No, he was not. He played the main cop in Sinister. You've ever seen that horror gem? Sinister. And one of his last roles was playing some guy in God's Not Dead 2, The Godning.
Shut the front door.
Yeah, it's
wow. I just knew him from Law and Order.
Yeah, he has a very extensive acting career. And the sad thing is he's not a bad actor. He's actually pretty fucking decent.
And he was an actor
himself.
Yeah. He was an actor before he got into politics, or was he in politics, got into acting, got back into politics?
I think it's the second.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm always just curious because I just feel like everyone loves Ronald Reagan so much, but then it's like you don't see too many like actual actors who then get into politics.
So anyways, she ends up being one of his 3 national co-chairs, which is, it seems like at least one too many. But Fred would end up being the second major candidate to drop out of the race. He'd get 11 electoral votes. And as a consolation, he did get to play President Ulysses S. Grant in the TV movie Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. So he at least got to be kind of president that year. Liz would then switch over to Mitt Romney's team, was his senior foreign policy advisor, and then he lost also. So not a great year to be Liz. In 2009, Liz would co-found a nonprofit called Keep America Safe, which seems to have just existed as a way to raise money and yell at Barack Obama. So the big campaign that they pushed was outing and harassing a group of lawyers that became known as the Al-Qaeda 7. So these 7 lawyers had represented detainees at the Guantanamo prison and eventually became lawyers in Obama's Justice Department. And the push was made to make it seem like the allegiance of these lawyers were towards terrorist organizations and that Obama was allowing enemies of the state to run the government. However, a sizable group of Republicans did end up getting pretty pissed about this because, 2009 was still a time that Republicans got pissed off at other people trying to do unconstitutional shit. And right to a fair trial is a constitutional thing.
Very much.
So
very much.
A bunch of Republicans ended up yelling at Liz Cheney for doing this because they're like, they're allowed due process, you fuck. And shortly after that, Keep America Safe suddenly disappeared from the internet and the group was unceremoniously shut down.
Also, at this point, I'm just wondering, like, on the gadfly grift scale, where are we with Liz Cheney?
Oh, God. I feel like she gave up her grifting days around this time. I feel like if she was going to do a grift, it was going to be this nonprofit. Because, I mean, if your whole nonprofit is just yelling at Barack Obama, that's 8 years of free money if you do it right. She didn't. She fucked up.
She didn't.
She fucked up within months. And so she got a taste of the grift. She tried it and it just fell the fuck apart.
Like, yeah, why grift when you can be black ops for a couple year with 80 million, a cool 80 million.
I could have taken down Syria, which don't get me wrong, Bashar al-Assad, not a good man.
No, don't worry. We fucked that up too.
Yeah. But yeah, so after 2009, she laid low for a few years. And then in 2012, she signed a contract with Fox News as a contributor. And here's something I didn't know. She actually hosted Sean Hannity's show when he was out.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Do we have clips?
I'm sure they exist. I didn't want to see it.
Okay, fair
I didn't want to
enough.
see her smug face sitting behind a weird desk.
At this point, I just want to time travel back to 2009 when Republicans could scream at other Republicans for due process and not, how dare you make me get vaxxed?
There was a goddamn time. And it is so weird.
We're talking about the time right after the stock market crashed.
Oh God. Yep. Yep.
And I would still take it.
Yeah, it's like nearing Tea Party times a little bit, but
Yes.
we're getting there.
Oof. Okay.
So she ended up doing that for about a year. And then in 2013, she ended her contract with one very bold announcement. Liz was going to run for Senate in Wyoming. Now, I know what you're thinking, Una. Does Liz even live in Wyoming?
That's exactly what I was thinking, Dusty.
And no, she hasn't lived there since she was in the 7th grade. But that's never stopped a Cheney before now, has it?
Yeah, follow-up question. Does anyone live in Wyoming?
Technically 500,000 people, I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's itty bitty. Oh yeah, it's almost 600,000. Oh, good for Wyoming.
Oh, well. You might need another representative soon.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But yeah, and so Liz decides, fuck it. You know what? My dad ran. He did just fine. So why not me? The main difference, though, is that when her dad announced that he was running, he did so in Wyoming. And when Liz announced, it was on Facebook. And I think she forgot about geotagging because the post said the announcement was coming from McLean, Virginia, which is a suburb of Washington, D.C.
Like a nice one, too, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like where all the CIA people live.
Oh, my God.
So yeah, not a great start. But it also didn't help that the dude she was going up against was probably one of the most beloved senators in the entire fucking country. So Mike Enzi had been a senator of Wyoming since 1996. And since taking the seat, he had never had a serious contender run against him. His approval rating was one of the highest in the nation at 73%. So why the fuck is Liz running against this guy? And it seems like the answer is that everyone was just expecting Enzi to retire in 2014. He just turned 70. He'd mostly served in the background of the Senate. He was never really a guy who was, who would run in front of the cameras or introduce really controversial legislation. He was just like, I'm going to vote the way I want. I'm a relatively quiet guy. Yeah. I'll introduce legislation when I want. That's what I'm going to do. And so typically in this sort of example of what you would do, if there's an old guy that everyone's expecting to retire, you give him a call. You say, hey, I'm kind of interested in the seat, but I want to check on you first. I want to see if you're going to run. I want to, is there anything I can do to help? If you're going to run, can I volunteer for your campaign? You kiss the ring.
Yes, exactly.
You do everything you can to say, please, old person, please. I mean you no harm.
Hey, every job I've gotten has been through networking. So my name's Liz. Big fan.
Thing though is that's not what Liz did. What she did is she called up Mike and said, hey, Mike, I'm running in 2014.
Scandale!
And Mike Enzi, being an old school politician, made a fine harumph of just like, well, I was going to retire, but I don't want it to make it look like I'm being pushed out by a woman. I'm not getting pushed out by no one. And so instead of retiring, he's like, fuck it, one more term. One more 6-year term.
Show you what Mike Enzi can do.
Yeah, go and fuck yourself, Liz. I ain't going nowhere.
How about you work a day in your life and you take this from me? Take it from my cold, dead hands.
Exactly. And this feeling of that he was being pushed out is actually confirmed by a lot of his friends and colleagues that, when he got this call, he was expecting more of it to be like, let's work together. Let's figure it out. I'll give you time to announce your retirement. If that's what you decide to do, you can endorse me and we can go from there. But instead, she's just like, nope, I'm doing it. Fucking deal with it.
She fucking geotags herself from Virginia.
Well, and the funny thing is you don't have to be a citizen of Wyoming to run for office there.
Because there's only 600,000 of them?
I think the law is just very weird. Potentially, yes. There was a woman named Carol Hafner who's from Alaska who ran there for Congress in the Democratic primary, which if you're going to run from out of state, that's a good way to go.
Yeah, be from Alaska.
When Rocky was running for Senate, technically he owns a house in Wyoming, but he doesn't live there.
Right. He seasons that Jackson Hole, I'm sure.
100%. Now, with a seriously tough primary ahead of her, Liz went all in. She railed against Obama, talked about how important it was to obstruct anything he wished to pass, and demanded the disbanding of the EPA. She also committed a whole series of fuck-ups that would make it impossible for her to win. So one little funny fuck-up is she applied for a fishing license. But if you're an out-of-stater in Wyoming, the fishing license costs $220, and she applied as someone who was in-state, and so they denied it and said, hey, if you want this fishing license, you got to pay $220. Yeah. And a small newspaper found out about it and ran the story, and she responded by essentially calling out the editor of that newspaper at a Tea Party rally.
Oh my God. No, make friends with the editor for God damn it.
Oh, that's easy. You want to win this the easy way? I want to catch fish on the cheap and win.
First of all, do not tell me you don't have $250 for this. Get the fuck out of here, you stingy ass.
Yeah, can I borrow $220? No reason. No, I didn't move to Wyoming on time.
Dad, can I use your address?
Oh my God. Perfect. I mean, that would have been a better plan at this rate, honestly. So she ends up yelling about this newspaper guy for calling her out and very quickly had to backtrack and claim that what she was really yelling about was the national media. She continued to rub locals the wrong way. Probably one of my favorite stories, and this was told by the New Republic, is that, she bought a pair of cowboy boots and some blue jeans and, a hat and all that. And this dude from the New Republic who was interviewing her noted that her hands were blue due to her blue jeans being so new.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, she went full George W. Bush ranching.
Oh yeah. But the big hit would come over the topic of gay marriage. Now, on the campaign trail, Liz made it abundantly clear that to her, marriage would only ever be between a man and a woman, which came as a very brutal shock to her sister Mary, who in 2012 had married her wife Heather Poe. And in a Facebook post, Mary would state, quote, Liz has been a guest in our home, has spent time and shared holidays with our children. When Mary and I got married in 2012, she didn't hesitate to tell us how happy she was for us. To have her now say that she doesn't support our right to marry is offensive to say the least. Mary denounced her sister, and the two have yet to reconcile.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Liz, this could not have been worth it.
Oh, no. It's like she buried family to try to win a race that in the polls, if I'm remembering correctly, it was like 56% to Enzi, and she maybe topped out at 20%. It was a race she was never going to fucking win unless Mike Enzi just like punched a child. And even then, if it was like a cool punch, he still would have won. Like if he uppercutted a toddler, people would probably be like, yeah, I mean, that's hard to do.
Like the toddler's kind of a shit. I mean,
look, that toddler would not shut the fuck up. Mike was trying to talk about, tort reform. I get it. I fucking get it, man.
Wow. Well, first of all, hats off to Mary for one. It's like, I am not waiting until Thanksgiving. You are dead to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the thing is, she also said, like, I'm going to be boycotting our family's Christmas, is what she said. Which, yeah, and it's, Mary Cheney's a fucking boss. She's pretty great in a lot of regards. It still boggles my mind that she still considers herself conservative, but it's one of those things where it's like, I can understand conservatism in a number of situations, and it takes a lot of strength to stand up to your powerful family and say, no, you're fucking wrong about this.
Yeah, especially when your dad can buckshot a man in the face and walk away from it and
make the other guy apologize.
Yeah, and then have the guy apologize.
That's a terrifying power. Oh my God. Well, I was also reading that apparently, and this is rumor, so who knows how true it is, that Dick Cheney decided he wasn't going to run in 2008 because of his daughter Mary.
I remember that too. Yes. Yeah.
He was like, I can't convince Republicans to vote for me if I support her. Oh man. And a bit of fun. We are about to have a thunderstorm come through during probably the scariest part of the podcast.
Yes. Everyone get your flashlights, put it under your chin.
So if you hear some rumble bumbles, don't worry. So yeah, between the gaffes and the public family betrayal and the insurmountable odds, Liz would drop out of the race, citing family health issues. But weirdly enough, the state GOP would offer her an olive branch. They saw potential and essentially said, hey, just wait a few years. We might have a job for you. And just like magic, in 2012, Congresswoman Cynthia Loomis left her seat to run for Senate. And Liz was there to swoop in and act like 2014 just hadn't happened. She'd cruise to an easy win in the GOP primary and crush her Democratic challenger. And suddenly Liz Cheney was a U.S. Congresswoman. And oh boy, did she have a fucking career. She introduced legislation to remove gray wolves from the endangered species list. Despite there only being about 6,000 of them in America, she lashed out against the Crow tribe of Montana for successfully fighting to get the grizzly bears of Yellowstone Park back on the endangered species list, claiming that the Crow tribe were, quote, intent on destroying our Western way of life.
Whose Western way of life, Liz? You've lived in Virginia most of your life.
Look, she's visited Yellowstone.
Look at your blue hands, Liz.
Oh my God. Liz is absolutely one of those people who would visit Yellowstone and hop out of the car to take a picture of a bear. Like she would walk within 3 inches of a buffalo. I would put money on that shit.
In my head is like, Liz is the kind of person who would go to Yellowstone in a bright yellow Hummer. It's just spewing dark gases.
Oh my God. Those roads cannot take a Hummer. It's like cars barely fit both ways on those roads.
It's like, congratulations, you've destroyed the forest in your wake.
God damn it. And that's actually pretty apocryphal that we said that. Because she also called on the Justice Department to look into the Natural Resources Defense Council, Sea Change, and the Sierra Club for signs of foreign influence, claiming that they were de facto enemies of the state controlled by Russia and China because they're trying to stop business.
What?
Because environment, you got to get rid of environment to make money, business. And this is something that's actually going to be really big when we start talking about the other candidates. Is one of the big hairs up everyone's ass in Montana is the federal government owns a lot of land in Montana because it kind of needs to be protected because it's I don't know, it's naturally beautiful and very fragile ecosystems. And a lot of people are just like, no, fuck you, that's our land. There's coal in them hills and we want it.
Yeah, and maybe enough oil reserves for like 5 cars.
Want to make oil out of the gray wolves we kill.
Oh.
Get that sweet natural gas. So I think that's a lot of the reasoning behind it, but it's still some bullshit.
Yeah, no, it's like a shit. I'm watching a shitty Xerox of her father's machinations. It's like all the same actions, but with, I don't know, without like the slick evilness behind it.
And I'm willing to be proven wrong on this, but I think it's fairly safe to say that any organization that offers you a tote bag for a donation isn't an enemy of the state. They're not a danger to anyone in any regard.
Yeah, no.
Happy to be proven wrong on that, but that's, Al-Qaeda's not hanging out, decorative keychains.
It's when you get a yacht trip off the books in the Bahamas for your donations, that's when you really got to worry.
Yeah.
Who's this 17-year-old? Don't worry about it.
Man, the Red Cross's party's like fucking crazy.
Yeah. It's great that the nurses are here because I'm on a lot of coke right now. Pretty sure my heart just stopped.
Welcome to the podcast where we slander the Red Cross.
Oh my God.
Just drinking blood on the side of a boat. Oh my God. Anyway, so she also supported Israeli colonization of Palestinian property in the West Bank and personally congratulated President Benjamin Netanyahu for doing so. And for funsies, she also stated that China made and spread the COVID disease on purpose.
Good Lord.
Yeah. But on one positive note, she did speak out against Turkey's invasion of Kurdistan and the Trump administration's refusal to come to their aid. But she also accused Nancy Pelosi of causing said invasion due to having an impeachment.
Oh my God, pick a lane.
Well, no, Una, don't you get it? When there's an impeachment, President Trump's just busy with the impeachment. Turkey's just going to go in and be like, it's time for a war, I guess, since you're not looking. So it's Nancy's fault.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't the fact that he probably couldn't read.
One of my favorite probably false things is that Trump
you're like read. Probably false, which implies truth.
There's a whole interview that Pete Davidson does where he's just talking about trying to get Trump to do lines at SNL and just his complete misunderstanding of how English works or jokes.
Yeah, the minute I heard like that quote unquote conspiracy theory or whatever, that like theory of that, I was just like, oh, I'm going to latch on to that.
Yeah.
That unlocks a lot of things for me.
And the crazy thing of all of this is up until 2019, Liz Cheney was 100% on board with the Trump train. Her and Rand Paul would actually get into fights on Twitter over who was Trumpier. And Liz Cheney voted in line with Trump on 93% of the bills that he supported. But the break came shortly after the election. It kind of seems like that when Trump lost, Liz made the mistake of agreeing with reality. And the louder Liz spoke out against it, the more she became his enemy. And it led to Trump calling out Cheney by name prior to the coup on the 6th, which leads us to where we are now. Incumbent Liz Cheney facing the race of her political life and branded with an image that none would have expected even a year ago. A secret liberal. And after everything I've said about her, it's all the more unnerving that the liberal label is something that is actually based on a recent poll. A recent poll done by McLaughlin and Associates found that 53% of Wyomingites would use the term liberal to describe Liz Cheney.
This is where I think yours and my mental assessing of the Democratic Party, like the Venn diagram just becomes a single circle in terms of just like, wow, we are a broken people. Because it's like when you have a friend who's just like mooning over their latest relationship and it's like, yeah, this person does the bare minimum. Like you still deserve better. It's just that the person you had been dating was an asshole.
Yeah, like pulling out your seat and calling you every once in a while isn't the best people can do.
Right. It's like, no, he's supposed to text back.
God damn it. We're supposed to acknowledge reality.
Yeah.
Simple shit.
Please stop telling me about the wedding. It's just, no, you still deserve better.
Orange is a bad color for tuxedos. I need you to understand this and leave this man. Anyway, so from all this sudden turn came a whole gaggle of competitors. Some serious, some not so much. God damn it, Una, we're going to talk about all of them.
Oh boy. Okay.
Now, much of this info is coming from their own websites and a few news articles, but I kind of have to mention the one candidates debate that occurred back in June. You see, it was a debate that was held, like most kind of low-key debates, at a hotel in a conference room. And it was held in Casper, Wyoming. But the thing that made it so fucking weird is that it was hosted by a guy by the name of KW Miller. Now, old KW was a former candidate for Congress in Florida, and he's kind of publicly claimed that Beyonce Knowles isn't black.
Oh boy.
Yeah, his conspiracy is that Beyonce is secretly Italian, gave a name for who he thinks she is, and said she is a plant by George Soros.
Wow, this is a 7-layer dip of racism.
Oh, it gets worse because he also considers Patti LaBelle to be a Satanist.
What?
Yeah, it's
What did Patti LaBelle do to him?
She sang a song and was black.
Good
I
Lord.
think that's entirely it. KW definitely looks like the kind of man who has a fitted Klan robe.
Holy shit.
Yeah, with a name like KW, I think.
KW, you're taking this away from being. Oh no.
So yeah, and so the thing that I'm going to use as a bit of foreshadowing is for this debate that KW did, 6 of the 8 candidates showed up. I think that's a good little warning sign for where we're about to go.
No.
Anyways, first as always, we got to start talking about the candidates who I can't really consider to be serious. These are folks that for some reason or another don't have a campaign website, or they have one but they haven't updated it in a while, or have nothing in regards to policy at all on their websites. So by default, we kind of have to assume they're not trying very hard behind the scenes to win. So very first, we have Brian Keller. He has no website, no Twitter, no Facebook. But if LinkedIn is to be believed, either a prison guard or a manager at Arby's.
Wait, for real?
Yeah, one or the other. I don't know. There's 2 Brian Kellers who both live in Cheyenne. It's kind of a common name. So he's either the Brian Keller who is a correctional officer, he's the Brian Keller who runs an Arby's, or there's some third Brian Keller I don't know about who lives in Cheyenne who's not on LinkedIn.
I'm going to say it's both. It's the same Brian Keller, but obviously it's, different career paths.
Yeah, I run the Arby's at the prison. What of it?
By day, I run the prison. By night, I run the Arby's.
Oh, God. Some people are really confused to which one's the prison.
Oh, no.
And that's it. That's all I got on Brian. He's
all right.
Nothing out there. Good job, Brian. Best of luck. Next, we have a guy by the name of Denton Knapp. Now, Denton was born in 1965, graduated from West Point in 87, served 2 tours of duty in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. And then he retired from the Army with honor at the rank of colonel. And since returning to civilian life, he was named the director of the Goodwill Tierney Center for Veterans Services and founded a design company, as well as a group specializing in consulting for federal contracts. And aside from that, dude has a platform that is pretty much just a template for anyone running for office. He is pro-gun. He is anti-choice. He supports a constitution. And if you elect him, he will do the job you elected him to do, all while closing the borders.
Taxes. Don't need them.
Nope. It's clear what he supports, but there's nothing unique or new about it. It's pretty much all of those things that's going to apply to everyone else we talk about.
Love it. This is your base model.
Yeah. So since he has no unique plans or unique point of view, I'm not going to consider him a serious candidate. And that's all I got to say about Denton. Thank you for your service, sir.
Excellent.
And then we have a really weird one. And this is a guy who's an energy consultant by the name of Brian Miller. That's right. We got 2 Brians, and both of them spell their name with a Y.
This is a screenwriter's nightmare. The first thing they tell you is don't load up on the same name.
Nope. You're gonna confuse yourself. Fucking Final Draft is gonna shoot that down. Yeah. Now Brian does have a campaign website, or at least he did. It's down now. He has a Twitter, but he hasn't updated it since 2014, and he has a Facebook, but he hasn't updated that since 2020. So much like Denton, he was born around 1965. He also served in the military, graduating from the Air Force Academy in 1988. He retired as a lieutenant colonel in 2011, and has since started his own business. But what makes this weird is that Brian has run for major office before, and he has not done that badly. In 2014, he ran for Senate against Mike Enzi after Liz dropped out, and he ended up finishing 2nd out of 5 in the GOP primary with 9.8% of the vote. Isn't he enough for the Sheridan County GOP to make him their secretary and then promote him to party chairman of the county in 2017 and 2019? He'd run for Senate again in 2020, this time finishing 3rd out of 5 in the GOP primary with 10.3% of the vote. Now, I can get into his old campaign website via the Wayback Machine, but all of his policy reads exactly like Denton's, with one exception. Una, I'm so sorry. Flat tax.
No!
Flat tax is never gonna leave. Everybody loves it. It's just it's a constant solution to fix taxes.
This is bullshit. I want carbonated tax. Tax is flat. It's been out all night.
It's an old can of peach LaCroix that no one wants anymore. Except Steve Forbes. Steve Forbes will drink it.
Thank God.
Yeah, so there's nothing to review, and no attempts has been made to update his website or his socials. So yeah, I'm not taking him seriously this time.
Nope.
Which brings us to category 2, the long shots. So to kick things off, we have Robin Belinsky. So Robin's a paralegal, but she also owns a business that helps folks organize their homes. And it appears that she has used her business gains to deck out her sedan in a decal wrap of the American flag. But no God-loving American would just stop there. Oh no. On the back, Robin also has a big old Gadsden snake from the bumper to the trunk.
Good Lord.
Una, she calls it her Patriot car.
There's got to be, we can come up with a better name than Patriot Car.
I mean, seriously, at least Sam Tittle, I can't remember what exactly it was, like the Sam bus, I think. At least that's, kind of creative.
Yeah, that rolls off the tongue nicely.
Yeah, but the Patriot car, that's like, is it a Jeep
Car.
Patriot? Is it like an old military vehicle? It surely can't be a Ford Taurus.
Is it a Honda? Is it a fucking foreign car?
I'm 90% sure it's a Chevy. The decals are covering up any indication as to what kind of car it is, and it infuriates me.
Is this car even street legal?
So fucking bad. It might be. I don't fucking know. Maybe in Wyoming it is.
Sure. Why not?
I'm pretty sure in Wyoming, like if you duct taped 4 snowmobiles together, that counts as a car. So she has her Patriot car. During the debate, Robin actually talked about how the car has caused her both trials and successes. I totally believe these 100% true stories that she has told. Where apparently she went out to the Trump rally in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and she went to her hotel that she was going to be staying at, and the person behind the counter was like, "Hey, your car makes me very uncomfortable." To which she said, "Well, where are you from? Are you not an American?" He's like, "I'm originally from Pakistan." She said, "Well, I think you need to go back there then."
Yeah, that definitely happened.
And that man was Albert Einstein. But it gets better because apparently she went to another hotel, and not only did they accept her at the inn, they upgraded her to a cabin suite.
Is this woman having an affair and just like just decides to like repackage it into like patriotic aphorisms?
Oh my God. I feel like this is the alt-right version of the Hang In There poster. It's just like spoken word forwarded emails. It's so out of goddamn control. Either which way. So when Robin was asked how she would describe herself, she said, quote, "Approachable. I'm about getting the job done. I'm over the political rhetoric. I don't want to play nice anymore. I want to get stuff done. I'm the Marjorie Taylor Greene of Wyoming because I want to get stuff done. I'm tired of listening to people complain."
Say, oh my God, just stop talking for 2 seconds and do so. Like, it's always the people who do the lead. Like, you're not going to do shit.
You wouldn't let me stay at the hotel that really existed.
Why are you going to so many motels? What are you avoiding? Work?
Look, I don't want to organize people's homes. Apparently, another story that she told that I'm sure is true is that she was cleaning a home and one of her workers, that she made a very strong point to say was black. It's just like, she was like, "Don't you fall for that BLM stuff." And then she was like, and then she did. And then she said I was a racist. And then I lost that job. And it's like, yeah, because you probably are a racist, Robin.
Yeah.
I mean, your car isn't a good start.
No.
I mean, and also I am against the entire wrapping of cars unless you're getting a very good deal on that.
Unless Exhibit's doing it. I don't think anyone should be doing it themselves.
Agreed. But you know what? We should talk about her policy. Her page is a bit light on policy, but very full of her.
Oh, I'm shocked. Shocked to hear that her page on policy is light.
So she does believe the 2020 election was stolen. She believes that BLM and Antifa are domestic terrorists and should be, quote, dealt with. She is also the only candidate actively against a new nuclear power plant being built in the state, not because she's worried of a meltdown or wondering where nuclear waste will be held, but it's because Bill Gates and Warren Buffett are behind the building of it. Plus, she says, quote, "Nuclear still needs oil and gas and coal." I feel like if you tried to do a diagram of that sentence, like the pencil would kill itself.
Move of its own accord.
Oh my God. Because also, I mean, a nuclear power plant, by definition, it runs on nuclear power. It runs on uranium. You don't have to be like, "Oh shit, I'm low on gas at the nuclear power plant."
Hey, you know what would make this nuclear power plant run even better? Let's throw some coal into it.
You know what? Now I'm curious. Let's see how this goes. Build it in the middle of nowhere and just throw some coal at it.
Yeah. It's not like it's highly unstable.
Not like we're flicking our thumb in God's face as we harness the power of the sun. But aside from that, she also thinks parents should be allowed to go into schools to ensure that their kids are being taught, quote, godly values, which she claims to have done. She claims to have gone to all of her kids' schools, which I'm sure made them very popular, and harassed teachers.
Yeah. It's like, first of all, those are parochial schools. Like, suck it up and pay the tuition. The choice, there is a choice. The choice exists.
Mm-hmm. And finally, when asked, "Hey, how would you cut the national debt?" she said she would shut down the border.
Because that's where the debt's coming from.
It's so baffling because if you're going to shut down the border, you need to pay a fuck ton of people to be down there, Rob. Come on. It's going to get more expensive, you dingling.
That's that question answer is like the policy equivalent of being asked, so what is your name? And you say, not bad. That's like, no, that's not what I asked.
Yeah,
you heard a different question.
Yeah, you give that answer and then you rightfully walk into the woods, never to be seen again. We've all been there. How do you think I moved to Chicago? And finally, she does claim that she has reached out to the Trump team about her campaign. But as of May 2021, she hadn't heard back from any of them, which brings us to probably the most interesting candidate running in this race, a woman by the name of Marissa Joy Selvig. So Marissa was born in 1987 and graduated from the University of Wisconsin River Falls with a double major in speech communication and theater arts. She would move to Wyoming 5 years later with her husband and started one incredibly busy life. First, she created and became the head brewmistress of Sweetheart Brewing Company, which makes a whole series of kombuchas. And look, I don't like kombucha. Tastes like vinegar. I don't like it. But god damn it, her stuff sounds so fucking good.
Ooh, and I do like kombucha, so sign me up.
There is one called Wyoming Sunrise that is black tea, green tea, sage, juniper, dandelion root, rosemary, and god damn it, I wish I would like it. You add sage to anything, I'm fucking in.
That sounds delightful.
Yeah, she has about a dozen different kombuchas and they all sound really good, which is a good segue. One of her big things is that she wants more food freedom. There's I wish I could remember the name of it. The Wyoming Food Freedom Act, I think is what it's called, where the general gist is that if people make stuff at home, they should be allowed to sell it. And so, you know, I kind of get that. And there's certain regulations that they have for that still, where it's like, all right, it has to be stuff that isn't perishable. It has to be like, you know, it can't be quiches. It can't be anything with eggs, dairy. But, you know, if you're making cookies, if you're making kombucha, if you're making stuff like that, fuck yeah, go ahead. And I think here in Illinois, we just call it a farmer's market because I feel like that's kind of how that works. But she's a very huge proponent of folks buying as locally as possible.
All right.
Which, I mean, I can get behind that. She's also the musical director at Central Wyoming College's theater productions and has also done work as assistant director and choreographer. And aside from that, she also works in her church's food pantry and clothing closet. And really, she seems to have a very deep appreciation and love for social services. And on top of that, she actually has political experience. In 2016, she was elected to the town council of Pavilion, Wyoming, and subsequently served as mayor from 2019 to 2020. And after all that good stuff, I am fucking horrified to tell you about her platform.
No.
Here we fucking go. I know. I was reading all of this shit and I was like, you better be nice because I really want to like support your kombucha. I kind of want to get it. I don't think it ships, but god damn it. So I'm 95% sure she's anti-vax in every regard.
Oh.
As evidence, there's a Twitter post that she has that's just a picture of all of the vegetables from her garden that she labels as, quote, natural vaccine.
No, just shut the fuck up with that.
But immune system, good, no virus. And yeah, she's definitely anti-vax, though, especially in regards to COVID. She also seems to believe that federal funding of the National Human Genome Research Institute will be used to fund gene editing, which, for those of you who don't know, gene editing it's kind of a tricky science. There's a lot of folks who believe that if done right, it could eradicate a number of diseases such as malaria and yellow fever, potentially AIDS. But it's also kind of tricky because you're editing the genome of a person. And I imagine that's not an easy fucking thing to do. So people are still very cautious about it. They're still doing a lot of work to figure out whether it's worth the risk or not. But I think it's when people say things like gene editing, they're just like, they're going to put a sheep in a man.
Yeah, no, they're living off of like a half-watched 28 Days Later marathon.
Yes.
And believing that that's actually like, here. What makes me so angry is just like, this is clearly just like you watched a movie, like not even like agitprop shitty like on YouTube movies that you, Dusty, sometimes try to get me to watch.
We will.
Like
future episodes.
A legitimate Hollywood produced movie, and it's like they're going to take our genes and splice it. Like, no, you watched a movie. That was just like Hollywood, which was created, you know, for scare tactics or a plot.
You know, I know you're saying this very seriously, but you pretty much just summarized Alex Jones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's that. And so one of the better things is she doesn't support a flat tax. No, she supports the fair tax. Now, I've watched all the fair tax organizations' YouTube videos, and I am disappointed to say I don't know what the fuck it is. I have no fucking clue.
It's not even a flat tax rebranded. It's
it is absolutely not. To the best of my ability to understand, it would remove all federal income taxes and replace it with a national sales tax, but only on new items. but it's also not a sales tax because I think they're kind of saying that if your household income is below the poverty line, then every month you're going to get a certain percentage of that taxed money back. They call it a prebate, and I hate it. And for some reason, they think this means the IRS will be gone. But honest to God, who the fuck's going to figure out who gets the prebate? Whose job is that now, you fucking idiots? Like, you have tax experts to figure this out, but you're just going to fire them out of goddamn spite and bring in a bunch of fucking libertarians, I assume.
Tell me you graduated with a degree in theater without saying you graduated with a degree in theater.
Look, we all love weed. It's such a fucky idea. Like, you could just say, let's just do a national sales tax, and I could at least kind of fuck with that. But
then it would be so easy to disprove. And this way, if they just make it moon math, it's a lot harder to disprove. You have to work to show how insane and dumb it is.
How do you decide who gets a prebate? Like, what sort of forms do you have to fill out?
Do you have to use the word prebate? Why does it sound like icky?
I know, right? And like, to get it every single month, do you have to report your income every month? I don't fucking understand it. It's a bad idea. And they have so many videos. And probably one of my favorite comments on the YouTube video about it was someone right below said, I've watched all of your videos and I still don't know. It's
yes.
Anyway, she wants to have a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution and would want to cut the immediate budget by about 8 to 10%, which she'd mostly do by abolishing the Department of Education. She is pro-gun. She would like to promote the encouragement of two-parent homes, valuing education, healthy eating, clean living, and mental health counseling, but only when necessary.
Oh my God. This is like the heteronormative female version of so many male libertarians we've seen. I'm just like, how are you forcing me to eat squash instead of just taking a Prozac, but also pro-gun? And then the two-head household family bullshit. What?
Like, I know she's not going to count like two dudes raising a kid to fit
No,
into that.
no.
It's two parents. Why not three parents? Have this fucking throuple raise a kid.
Oh my God. I mean, honestly, that's just good sense.
Look, we support throuples on this podcast.
We really do. Yeah.
But there's more. Oh God, there's more. I think she wants to end state funding of universities, but it's not really clear.
Why? Because she got hers, so fuck all y'all?
Kind of. I mean, she also seems to want to reduce the amount of student loans the government can offer because she thinks it's going to reduce the amount of tuition that universities charge, which, I mean, I guess in the long run could work, but it really fucks over a lot of people in the short term.
Oh yeah. This is so dumb. I don't even know where to begin.
Well, there's two final big ones that I really want to hit you with. One, she wants to return to Trump's immigration policy, but she says this after noting that her and her husband's family immigrated here in the late 19th century from Scandinavia. Now, fun facts, because I think a lot of these folks who are just like, my ancestors immigrated here lawfully, blah, 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 blah. So I think it's time for a little bit of a history of how fucking hard that was to do back in 1880.
Yeah.
So prior to 1880, immigration to America was as simple as, oh, you showed up, congrats. Stay here as long as you want.
Yep.
But then people started to get real racist and anti-papist about who was coming to the country. So in 1882, we passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, banning laborers from immigrating from China until the act was repealed in what year, Una?
Oh God, it was like well into the 20th century, wasn't it?
1943.
Oh, just in time for internment camps.
Yep.
Yay.
And after that, they allowed 105 people from China to immigrate here.
Oh my God.
So on top of this, in 1882 was also the year that America said you had to start paying a tax of 50 cents or $13 in today's money if you wanted to enter into the country. And this was followed by two laws in 1885 and 1887 that barred the immigration of anyone coming to America for contract labor work. So for Marissa and her husband's ancestors to enter into America, all they had to do was not be laborers, not be Chinese, and not be, quote, idiots, lunatics, convicts, or persons likely to become a public charge. Also have 50 cents per person. So maybe it is not fucking fair when you claim that your family came here to America legally when the process was essentially have cash and show up.
Yeah.
Either way, Marissa's main policy point is that immigration should be banned until we could solve all poverty and joblessness in America first, which means we close the borders forever.
Wow, that's a credible fuck you. That's a haha, we're never going to solve this problem.
She's not the only one who says that too. I think Robin says that at one point also. But then there's the final one, and I'm sorry I'm going to go on a bit of a rant on this one, Una, because it infuriates me to no end. So one of her big issues is tribal advocacy. So quoting directly from her campaign site, "I believe it is important to educate the American people about the issues regarding housing shortages, homes without water, homelessness, poverty, abuse, and addiction, and coordinate with schools, mental health centers, and charitable organizations to better serve our great indigenous peoples." Now, a small section of our 1 hour podcast isn't anywhere close to detail the history of America's indigenous population, but the multiple genocides enacted upon them, repeated forced migrations, destruction of property and culture, and finally the brutal century-long war that was used to destroy any resistance movement to force them to live on reservations that offered little to no resources or arable soil is only kind of scratching the surface, let alone the fact that the genocide against them is still continuing to this day. And it has done so predominantly through an organization that Marissa works for. So Marissa serves on the ministry team of a group called Foundations for Nations Church. And they're a missionary church whose whole vision is to, quote, revive, raise up, and restore the brokenness on the Wind River Indian Reservation. Now, don't get me wrong. There are multiple issues that need alleviating on a number of reservations in America. Conditions are less than ideal, and funding towards those reservations are not as high as they should be. But, I think the church that they work for says it best. And I'm going to kind of state their position via the dream that Sarah Lucas had when she was about to start their church. Quote, "In the dream, I saw Jason and myself standing in a wheat field so vast. Our hands were gliding across the tops of the wheat as we walked through the fields. Our hands were dripping with honey. Every time we went to pull our hands away, they stuck to a blade of wheat and uprooted it. And on the bottoms of the stalks were faces of Native Americans. And the Holy Spirit said, 'The harvest is ripe for the picking. Go reap my harvest.'"
So you're just going to convert a bunch of indigenous Americans.
They then make the point of saying that only 3% of the folks on the Wind River Reservation claim to believe in Christ. So one of the best sources I found on explaining why this is so fucked up comes from activist Davidica Little Spotted Horse, who's worked since 2014 on the Pine Ridge Reservation of the Oglala Lakota Nation to raise awareness of these missionary groups and the charity, quote unquote, they supply. So quoting directly from an article from Indian Country Today by Mary Annette Pember, Little Spotted Horse and the others who asked for anonymity for fear of reprisals from church supporters described incidents of aggressive proselytizing and demeaning treatment of Lakota spirituality and language, baptizing children without parental permission, use of humiliating poverty porn to fundraise, and of forwarding a colonial agenda that privileges non-native values and goals. Some members have made allegations of sexual abuse and financial misdeeds and point to the failure of most organizations to conduct background searches of their workers and volunteers. So essentially, what a lot of these organizations are doing is showing up, getting their press release, taking advantage of everyone who's there to get everything out of the folks on the reservation that they can, and then fucking dipping. A really fucked up example of this would be the True Sioux Hope Foundation. So this particular foundation created a youth shelter in 2017 on the Pine Ridge Reservation. And it was created by a woman by the name of Twyla True. She is a jewelry and beauty maven and works a lot with influencers on Instagram to kind of build her brand. And what makes it even more fucked up is she is a member of the Sioux tribe. And so she went there with her organization, brought 170 wealthy supporters with her, gave them tours, and then gave the money for the shelter to be built. But by 2018, they quit sending money. And eventually the staff had to start working without pay while taking care of these children. The nation contacted her and allegedly she just stopped taking their calls. The youth center was forced to close its doors in 2019. But hey, lucky for us, the True Sioux Hope Foundation is still taking donations.
No.
Yep.
Ooh.
So Marissa works for an organization like this and has the fucking audacity, the fucking gall to say that tribal issues are her bread and butter. I will gladly say, I think it's best to probably end with another quote from Little Spotted Horse, who said, "In many ways, it's like the early missionaries who came to our lands looking to convert us to Christianity and kill our culture. It's assimilation all over again."
Yeah. That's what I started thinking about the minute you mentioned that she was involved with a church organization. It's like, oh, so essentially the continuation of how we destroyed an entire cult, like many cultures for centuries.
And this is how the genocide continues to this day, because genocide isn't just killing people, it's killing culture. It's killing who people are. And I felt such a 180 on this of just being like, Marissa, I really want to like you. Please don't fuck this. And then I get to this and it's like, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah, no, this is a new level. Because at first it's like, I was going to mention how Maintenance Phase, another really great podcast, has a whole episode on the wellness to QAnon pipeline. Oh yeah. And it's like, oh, Marissa fits in. But this is just this is a whole deep, dark level of disgusting.
Yeah.
Yikes.
It's going to get a little worse.
How?
Because now we're talking about the serious candidates. There are 3.
Oh my God. We haven't even gotten to the serious candidates.
We just did.
I'm going to have a mind melt. Oh, Wyoming, no.
One of the nice advantages with these serious folks is since they're serious, they're not very clear on what their policies are. They say all the right things. Nothing really makes them stand out super well.
They scrub their social media a little bit.
And so for most of these folks, we're going to be able to get through them pretty quick. But it's still not great. So first, we're going to go with Darren Smith. So Darren's an attorney, and he's also a former Christian Broadcasting Network executive. Apparently, he initially ran a business, and he was making all this money consulting. And as he puts it, I looked at myself and I looked at my kids, and I was like, what are they going to say about me in 20 years? Like, oh, Dad made a lot of money. So I sold my business, and I went to the Christian Broadcasting Network and started making evangelical television.
And that's how I got this signed shirt from Jars of Clay.
Oh my God. But then he also started working as a consultant for the Family Research Council, which is a highly problematic org that is extraordinarily homophobic and transphobic and just a terrible, terrible group of fuckers.
Yikes.
And he also refers to himself as, quote, a total deplorable. What else is there about Darren? Well, Darren was born in Wyoming somewhere in 1974. In 1990, yeah, that's the fucked up thing is like these people aren't even saying where they were born. It's just like it's their childhood and their origin story is a fucking mystery, and it infuriates me.
I love this idea of like if you're from Wyoming, you can just say you were born in Wyoming, and people already know where you were born.
Yeah, you're Wyoming. I get it. You could tell me where I wouldn't know.
Oh, you're Daryl's kid. Yeah, you're from outside Cheyenne. No, I know.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, Darren, that weird guy. Oh, and Darren spells his name Darin, so have fun with that. So in 1996, he graduated from the University of Wyoming with a degree in political science, and then graduated 4 years later with his law degree. 2005, he started working at the Christian Broadcasting Network, and then in 2016, he ran for Congress for the first time, running against Liz Cheney. And in that race, he would finish 4th out of 9, getting 15% of the vote. In 2018, he would be the chairman of Foster Freese's gubernatorial campaign. Now, Freese is the kind of man who is just made of fuck you money.
Ooh.
He was a Republican mega donor for a while until he got it in his head that he was going to run for Senate. Didn't go well. But as kind of a repayment for working as campaign chair, when Darren announced that he was going to be running for Congress, Foster Freese announced that he was going to be his campaign chairman. And then he died 1 month later. So Foster Freese is dead. I hope you didn't get too connected to the man. But yeah, which brings us to Darren and his platform now. He's pro-gun. He's pro-life. He seems to want to get rid of the EPA because he thinks it's ruining business. But also here's a fun thing he wants. Quote, any agency regulation that infringes on constitutional rights or affects more than $10 million in property should require congressional approval to avoid abuse or oppression from bureaucrats. An at-will federal employment system is the second step. And this is like his plan on how to reduce the budget. So essentially, if an organization is going to be like, all right, we need to spend $50 million to clean up the Great Lakes. That's more than $10 million. So that's got to go to a congressional vote, man. Hate to tell you, we got to vote on it.
So you're adding bureaucracy to remove the bureaucracy.
No, it's going back. It's good bureaucracy.
We have to go deeper into the crevasse.
Also, do you want 28-hour work days? Because this is how you get 28-hour work days.
Yes.
You are going to get so many fucking things to vote on, Darren.
Yeah, Darren, do you even know what things cost?
Oh, yeah. So an at-will employment system, he just wants to be able to fire literally anyone in the government at any point in time, which I feel like kind of happens whenever there's a new president.
Yeah. Also, it is definitely the thing we are all trying to get rid of at the state level, just in general, because it's terrible.
So one of his plans is he wants to create a publicly funded fleet of vehicles, including school buses, that run on natural gas. And the goal behind this is, you see, Wyoming produces natural gas. So we get the money.
Yeah.
That's it. That's literally the only plan.
Question mark, profit.
Yes. Well, and the thing is, natural gas compression cars do exist. They mostly are in Europe, not a lot of them here. There are a number of dump trucks that are used in major cities that use natural gas instead of gas. And that's predominantly because natural gas is cheaper than gas. But the problem is the fuel efficiency is worse. So it pretty much just evens out in the end.
Yeah, and it's like, it's a finite resource as well.
But it does also have fewer emissions than gas. So, I mean, I guess kind of it's a net win, sort of.
I guess, but to Darren's point, I would just say, how about you move to fucking France and drive around in your fucking little Fiat with your natural gas?
Yeah. Well, and the other question I have on this is, how are you going to do this as a congressman, buddy? Like, this feels like a governor's decision or a mayor, maybe. Like this is specific transportation, my dude.
Do you think government like election season would be easier if we allowed the kind of like elections and presidential debates for a CEO position. Because I feel it's like that's really what they want.
Yeah.
They just want an election cycle for the CEO job that they're going to get.
Yeah. You know what? Couldn't be any worse than what we have now.
It really couldn't.
Look, I guess now's the time to announce that I am running to be the head of Lululemon.
Yeah.
And my promise is I will no longer sell tights, but slacks, workout slacks.
Yeah. Flat workout slack tax.
Hey, you missed pleats?
Yeah.
Slack stacks, fuck off. Oh my God, I tried so hard to ignore that. Fuck
It's a slack tax.
I'm so furious. I'm so mad. Oh man, well, I guess it's my turn to make you mad now. So he's also against social media censorship and quote transgender nonsense and critical race theory. But he would also declare Black Lives Matter and Antifa to be terrorist orgs in the name of stopping Marxism. And it should be
oh my God.
And it should be noted in this weird debate where he said this. All 6 candidates said that Black Lives Matter and Antifa would immediately be defined as terrorists if they had their way.
Wait, so he's saying BLM and Antifa
should be labeled as terrorist organizations
because they want to act as terrorist organizations?
I mean, I think just because they're just like, oh, to us they are terrorists, so they are now.
It's such an incredibly meaningless word salad. Like it's just a Mad Libs of anyway.
Literally nothing means anything at this point. Also, he wants to remove all land and water regulations. He is super into coal and oil. So here's a weird thing I didn't know. Apparently, Washington, Oregon, and California started making it illegal to export coal from their shipping ports as a way to combat climate change.
Oh.
And so Wyoming is like, let us use your fucking ships. We need to ship our coal. And they're like, ship it out east, bro.
Sucks to suck.
Yeah, fucking try something else. And so this guy wants to use the Constitution to force them to ship coal. Because, you know, states' rights.
Oh my God. I'm so furious.
Yeah. He also has this wonderful quote. Wyoming's coal is the cleanest coal in the world, so we must get it to market. If environmentalists are truly worried about the environment, they should be advocates and help us get our coal to China and India.
You idiot. You goddamn idiot.
But do you want to know the real icing on the cake about Darren? He was at the coup.
Shut up.
He was fucking there. I don't think he went into the Capitol, but he was fucking there at the rally. And the thing is, you hear him talk, he just sounds like a weird dad. He sounds like, you know, if the pastor's out for the weekend because of a flu or something, he's the guy who steps up and reads a really weird fucking chapter.
Darren.
Yeah, Darren, I think Darren was where I started to actually get that uneasy, depressing feeling. Because he's exactly that kind of like, you know, he's not as bombastic as Jim Jordan. He's not as creepy as Madison Cawthorn. He's just, if you ran into him at a store, you'd just be like, oh yeah, that guy let me get to the register first. That's nice. He's unassuming. And then he opens his fucking mouth.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah. Which brings us to Chuck Gray. Now, Chuck is a state representative from Wyoming, and he was born in 1990, somewhere, doesn't say where. He's a millennial. He's got shit to do.
Yeah, I am discomforted by his being born in 1990.
So in 2020, he graduated from the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business. And then in 2013, at the age of 23, he was given his own conservative AM radio program called The Chuck Gray Show. It's also during this time he was a top 10 finalist for the Coolidge Prize for Conservative Journalism, an award given to folks who capture the spirit of former President Calvin Coolidge.
Oh, no.
Also known as history's biggest asshole.
This is not great.
Yeah. Calvin Coolidge was a man who, for those of you who don't know, he was just a prick. He was probably a fine-ish president, but he was never nice to anyone. He hated jokes, didn't like talking. He was called Silent Cal for good reason. There's a potentially fake story of this woman who walked up to him at a party and she said, "Mr. President, I just bet a friend of mine that I can make you say more than 3 words." To which he replied, "You lose." And then I imagine put a cigarette out on the table and left. He's just a miserable bastard. And Chuck won an award for being like Calvin Coolidge.
Like, what did Calvin Coolidge even do as president to suddenly merit, like, yeah, we're conservatives and we're going to give out an award?
Not much. He cut the immigration quota in 2 different ways. Sharply reduced quotas for Italians and Jews. He banned the Japanese from immigrating to America altogether. He reduced taxes a couple of times, gave veterans a bonus. Essentially started the FAA, I think. Yeah, he didn't really do that much.
But he gave us the precedent for our hatred of the border.
Yeah. I'm sure people were doing that back in 1880, but he was also just a prick. He was a prick that no one liked. And I guess for some people that makes him a hero. So good job, man, I guess.
So how angry is our little millennial friend?
Oh Lord, I have been resisting the urge to call him like a dweeby or Ben Shapiro. But the dude's such a little fucking dweeb. It's the only time that word has ever made sense to me when I look at this little fucker. Either which way, so in 2014, he ran for state representative, and he'd end up losing to incumbent Tom Lockhart by about 49 votes. And then he ran again in 2016 when Lockhart retired, and he won the GOP primary, destroyed his Democratic competitor, and at the age of 26 became a state representative. He'd end up winning re-election in 2018 and again in 2019, predominantly because there was no primary, and he kicked the ass of his Democrat opponent both times. As of right now, he's raised about $400,000 for the race, of which $300,000 comes from himself.
Wait, I'm sorry, how much?
Of the $400,000 in his war chest, $300,000 have come from himself.
What?
Dude went to Penn. He probably comes from a decent chunk of money.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, if your entire job leading up to this has been, I had a radio show on AM radio, it's...
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
This is also answering the question I was starting to form of like, man, how come we never get to hear more about like millennials on the left in state government? It's because none of us have $300,000.
Yeah, kind of makes it hard to run for office without that money.
Yeah. All right. Continue.
So Chuck seems to believe, or at least push the idea, that Donald Trump lost due to massive voter fraud. He does have a press release regarding the January 6th commission, where he refers to it as Biden's illegitimate election. And during an interview that he did with the literal BBC, when asked the question of whether he thought the election was stolen, he responded to absolutely yes, to which both of the BBC commentators responded to with what I assume to be dropping teacups and general bemusement.
Yeah, perhaps a polite laugh.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, the guy did kind of have a laugh. He was just like, well, what evidence do you have that this occurred? There's all these Trump administration people who say it didn't happen, what? To which he then just kind of changed the subject and started arguing a different point.
Boo. Hail him, BBC.
Like, oh my God, this dude could have just been hired by James O'Keefe and we wouldn't have to fucking deal with him right now. Either which way, he does want to enact term limits. So 3 terms in the House, 2 terms in the Senate, and that's it. He wants to return to Trump's immigration policies. He promises never to vote for any tax increases or budgets that are higher than the year prior. He believes that there are enough fossil fuels to produce energy for, quote, centuries to come. So let's break this down. So centuries to come, I assume that means at least 200 years. Do you think that is fair?
I think so. I would even, I mean, I feel like this crowd would count 150 years as centuries.
Sure. I think, you know what? We'll give 150 years. I think that's fair.
I also know that they're not above lying. So as far as they know, it's 500, knowing that it's actually 20.
So according to the Met Group, a European organization that tracks fossil fuel usage and advocates for renewable energy, so, grain of salt there, estimates that we have maybe about 50 years of oil left, 53 years of natural gas, and 114 years worth of coal. And those numbers are for the entire fucking world, not just America.
Wow.
So this idea that we have centuries of oil, natural gas, and coal is just fucking laughable. Chuck, read a book. Read a book, you shit. Read a fucking book. I will burn your copy of Atlas Shrugged.
Oh my God. Not the Bible.
Oh my God. So Chuck also touts himself as, quote, Wyoming's pro-life leader, passing more pro-life legislation than anyone during his time in the state legislature. And his biggest bill would probably be the one he passed in 2017, which helped push the state's ultrasound bill, which requires doctors to not just ask their patients if they want an ultrasound before deciding on an abortion, but they have to ask, do you want to hear your fetus's heartbeat before deciding? Una, it looks like you want to say something, but...
Like these are the same people who refuse a mask because it's, their body.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, 100%. Literally everyone on this panel, no one's wearing masks. No
one's getting the vax. Nope.
Yeah,
nope.
It's nopes all around. But you know what? The dark thing of all of this is that for all of the bills that Chuck has pushed, it's not like Wyoming is flush with abortion clinics. Up until 2020, there was one in the whole state located in the ski town of Jackson Hole. However, that clinic was recently bought by St. John's Health, which is a huge hospital chain, and no indication has been made as to whether or not people will still be able to receive abortions there. It doesn't even matter because the location is closed due to the hospital chain renovating the whole place, which they will be renaming the clinic at TJ Maxx Plaza.
Shut your mouth.
Yep.
No.
Get a shirt.
No.
TJ Maxx Plaza.
No.
Yeah, get an abortion at TJ Maxx Plaza. We're not gonna lie. That sounds kind of at least funny.
I feel like that's the future I joked about in 2005.
Yep. Come on down to the Dress Barn Memorial Hospital.
Yes, exactly.
Look, these shitty clothing stores have to survive somehow, man.
Here's the other thing I want to point out. Of course, the abortion clinic was in affluent Jackson Hole
Mhm.
because people will always manage to get an abortion when they need it. The rich will always get an abortion. No problem.
The rich will always get safe abortions.
Thank you. The rich will always get safe. There will always be abortions, and it's a matter of if you can pay for a safe one.
And the crazy fucking thing is Chuck is still pushing fucking bills. There's no abortion in Wyoming. I don't know. You succeeded. You fucking won, man. Like, why are you passing more legislation? Is it just because you want to like super bury it? Or is this just your thing now where you're just inventing shit just to see what
Or are you just getting super hyped up on the incel channels? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, this dude has easily been kicked off of 4chan at some point.
My God.
And yeah, to make things even more fun, he's the first of our serious candidates to have endorsements. He's been endorsed by 8 state representatives. The majority of them seem to be folks who were elected the same year that he was, so they seem to be like a cohort that's supporting him. And he's endorsed also by Lynn Wood. Now, if that name is familiar, he is one of the lawyers that has been trying to prove that the election is stolen, and most recently was forced by the state of Georgia to take a psychiatric exam to see if he is mentally capable to retain his law license.
Good for the state of Georgia, first and foremost. But yeah, if you look at the guy, there's something like he's got like sleazy pastor hair. I don't know how to describe it. There's just something you look at him, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah, something not right. Which brings us to our final serious candidate, Una. I saved this moment for last. We're gonna be talking about a guy. I saved this for last. What the fuck?
I'm emotionally tapped out already. So like, whatever, dude.
We're going to be talking about State Senator Anthony Bouchard. Once again, Anthony was born in 1965, somewhere. I'm half convinced now that they're just all raised in a bunch of tubes that Foster Freeze sponsored, and he's just been like pulling them out of the fucking ground. So in 1987, Anthony graduated from the Florida State College at Jacksonville, majored in something, I don't fucking know. It doesn't say. It never fucking says. Decades pass. In 2010, he founded the Wyoming Gun Owners, which is an extremely hardcore gun rights lobbying group, technically based in Wyoming. So for
tax purposes, listed in Delaware.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they have headquarters in Washington and they work out of Virginia, probably in McLean, but they say they're from Wyoming. And so the group pushed heavily for Wyoming's 2018 Stand Your Ground law, which passed, and in 2020 destroyed a proposed bill that would have placed new regulations on the purchases of guns in the state. Now, specifically, the bill would have updated the state's ban on folks with certain mental illnesses from purchasing a gun and would have allotted them due process to plead their case before receiving a ban. And, I know this sounds weird because that sounds like something they would support because it's kind of increasing gun rights, but somehow they got it in their head that this was going to lead to stricter red flag regulation, which essentially would be like, you've been convicted of domestic violence, you can't own a gun. You have certain violent tendencies, you're not allowed to own a gun. And so they essentially created a false mythology just to have something to fight. And so rather than having more gun rights, they chose to fight.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So in 2012, Anthony would run for state senate and he lost to incumbent Wayne Johnson by 42 votes. 2 years later, he'd run again, but he lost the GOP primary to incumbent John Eklund Jr., this time a distant second with 28% of the vote. But finally, in 2016, Wayne Johnson retired and Bouchard would go on to win the GOP primary by 5 votes over state representative David Zwanitzer. So Bouchard at the time was a Tea Party candidate, while Zwanitzer was a bit more of a traditional conservative. And so Bouchard would end up winning the general election by 356 votes over an independent by the name of Kim Zwanitzer, who was David's wife. It's a real kind of fuck you moment where she was just like, I'm not running because you beat my husband. We're just in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with anything. Don't be weird about it. I fucking hate you. And I should note, because I think this is a good time to bring it up. At this time, Anthony had what I could best describe as the sort of mustache you would expect to find on a steamboat conductor.
What?
It is like curvy and pointed, and it looks like it takes about an hour and a half each day to get it just right. And it leads me to believe that I would not let a single cousin under the age of 17 around him.
Wow, that is a choice.
It is a bold choice. Now, I will say for this election, he has shaved it off, which I think
you made a friend.
I think it shows cowardice. You made a bold choice, and you have blinked in the eyes of God.
You did, yeah. You flinched.
Anyway, so during this time, now that he's a state senator, he used his first year to vote against expanding Medicaid in Wyoming, and he opposed the ending of the death penalty. So, typical asshole fare.
Blah, blah, yeah.
In 2017, he started working as a real estate agent, but this would also be the year that he supported a bill that would have allowed people to bring guns into government meetings. And the bill passed, but was vetoed by the governor. And then was shut down.
Good job, governor. Checks and balances.
I know, it's such a weird thing. Well, and Matt Mead, who was the governor at the time, he was just like, this law is too vague, man. You cannot expect me to fucking sign this.
Good. Yes, someone who can read.
I'm not running for re-election. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And in 2018 is when he introduced the Stand Your Ground law that would end up passing thanks to help from his lobbying group. And in 2020, he ran for re-election, this time winning the GOP primary by about 163 votes, which leads us to May of 2021. By this point, Anthony has announced he is running against Liz Cheney. Fire, brimstone, I got guns, it's gonna be great. But he ended up having this very strange announcement on Facebook Live. And it was because he had caught wind of an expose being written about him in the press, and he wanted to announce it himself before the press could have their day. So this particular tale had occurred about 40 years prior. Well, you know what? I'll just let Anthony tell it. Quote, bottom line, it's a story of when I was young. 2 teenagers, girl gets pregnant. And you've heard these stories before. She was a little younger than me, so it's sort of like a Romeo and Juliet story. And yeah, the Casper Star Tribune had some fucking questions at this sentence. Predominantly, hey, how much younger, bro? What do you mean by a little younger, my dude?
I'm sorry. And what was the question? Like, what's your foreign policy?
Well, no, this is just the thing that he's announcing because he's like, this is an expose that's about to drop, and I'm going to get a fucking head of it. I want people to believe me first.
Oh my God.
Like, look, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, you know, I met this girl. She ended up getting pregnant, and, you know, she was a little younger, sort of like a Romeo and Juliet sort of thing, but I wanted you folks to hear it from me first. And so the Casper Star Tribune said, hey, dude, how much younger? And Anthony answered, Anthony was 18, and the anonymous girl was 14.
14?
14.
No.
It's to quote another podcast, it's not great, Dan.
It's wow. Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Well, and yeah, I want to know the circumstances of how they met, because if I am to believe that Anthony was born in Wyoming, and maybe this is why he doesn't say where he was born, because if he was born in Wyoming, then that means that he met her while he was in college. And how do you meet a 14-year-old child when you're in college? And then think, you know what I'm going to do? Let's just throw caution to the wind and just do everything terrible. So I hate to say it, it does get worse. So the two would end up getting married the very next year because thanks to Florida law, marrying a child is completely legal if pregnancy is involved, if the parents are cool with it, and if a judge is cool with it. So they would end up getting divorced after 3 years. And 2 years after that, his ex-wife would commit suicide at the age of 20.
Oh my God.
So Anthony states that he continued to raise his son, Tony, but admits that the two are estranged. And this is mostly because Tony is in jail for sexual assault.
Oof.
Yeah. And despite this is the guy who has raised the most money against Liz Cheney. He has a war chest of $500,000.
Ah!
And weirdly enough, people seem to have kind of fucking forgot about this weird fucking detail of him, I don't know, doing a pedophile.
Yeah.
So his platform, I'm sure it matters now. Why not? He's anti-lockdowns. He hates masks. Fuck your vaccine requirements. He wants to confront socialism by taking on, quote, the politically correct fake news media. He wants to stop radical environmentalists. I would like to note he doesn't say how because his entire website is just headlines and then weird sentences. Quote, he wants to protect America against the illegal alien invasion and restore the entirety of the Trump immigration policy. He wants to fight cancel culture, a thing that doesn't exist. He wants to defend conservative values by expanding gun rights, fighting against abortion, and, quote, be a champion against the so-called transgender rights agenda that threatens women's sports. Can we talk about this for a second? I am tired. I am so tired of these fucking weirdos acting like they give a fuck about Title IX in women's sports.
Reach.
The only time in my entire life I ever heard a conservative dude take women's sports seriously was probably for the worst reason. So my grandpa on my father's side, very, very fervent racist. And the Ohio State men's basketball team hired a black coach. And at that moment, he decided he was never going to watch Ohio State men's basketball again. And for the rest of his life, only watched Ohio State women's basketball.
Wow.
That's the only time I've ever heard of a conservative dude give a genuine fuck about women's sports.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, there's never going to be more money thrown to these teams. It's just, yeah, transphobia. That's it.
Yep, it is fucking infuriating. He wants to fight to return all of Trump's foreign policy. He wants the U.S. out of the United Nations. He also got a real stick up his ass about Juneteenth being a holiday. So he couches this a lot in the fact that the name of the bill that made Juneteenth a holiday was the Juneteenth National Independence Day bill. And he got all whiny that, man, Independence Day is on July 4th. Meh. But clearly I'm probably going to be saying this a lot with this guy. He's a fucking racist. This dude is clearly a goddamn racist. And finally, we get to all the legislation he got to put forward. Since 2016, Anthony has introduced 79 pieces of legislation, of which 12 have been passed into law. One of his bigger ones that's been passed into law is he has introduced a ban on the University of Wyoming from supplying money to abortions or offering insurance that allows its employees or students to receive abortions. It's not like they could now because there's nowhere to fucking get them. Anyway, some of his bills that didn't pass, he wants to make the state state health officer, an elected position. He wants to limit health lockdowns to 15 days, and after that, they need the state legislature's approval to continue. He wants to repeal a law allowing gun-free zones. And then there's just dozens upon dozens of attempts to make abortion illegal, which once again is fucking pointless because there's nowhere to get an abortion in Wyoming. And fun fact, he and Chuck Gray sponsored the same fucking bills goddamn repeatedly. They're essentially the same dude, only Chuck is a weird dweeb and Anthony is a racist pedophile.
Really, two sides of the same coin. They're just a Janus of a hot mess.
It's so fucked. And then we get to the polls. Una, the fucking polls. So back in January, leading the polls, Anthony Bouchard, 28%, Liz Cheney, 21%, Chuck Gray, 17%. And then in July, we had two polls come out, and they're drastically different. So one poll had Darren Smith leading with 24%, with Liz Cheney in second, Bouchard in third, and Chuck in fourth. And then a new one came out that had Cheney in first, Bouchard and Gray tied, and then Smith in fourth. So it's become very clear that no one really knows what the fuck is going on in this race as of right now. But one of the things that McLaughlin and Associates found out is that 77% of Wyomans said they will not vote for Liz Cheney, no matter what.
Yikes.
So as it is right now, her ceiling is probably about 25%. And so one of the big questions during this weird fucking debate was, do you volunteer to drop out of the race on May 1st, 2022, if there is a clear leader and if Donald Trump has endorsed someone? And most people said yes. Marissa didn't, but no one's voting for fucking Marissa. But yeah, but essentially that's the thing. That's one of the things that freaks me out is I think they realize if one of the major folks drop out, they have a chance. If two of them drop out, Liz Cheney's done. And the agenda that they want can actually go to Washington. And you have a whole new fucking lunatic in Congress.
Wow. Thanks. I hate this. I hate this so much.
Which brings me back to my depression. So I was wondering why the fuck, after watching all of these honestly boring kind of milquetoast dudes and women speak, like, why was I so freaked out? Because I've watched debates before. I've been bored watching debates. And I remembered an old debate I watched for Idaho governor when Brad Little won for the first time. It was him and Raul Labrador. And it was mostly just kind of a normal sort of debate. But there was one dude who was just like this super well-spoken fascist. He was super charismatic. He had a lot of energy behind what he was saying, but he had no money. So he was never going to win. But watching that debate, it was like, this one guy is really fucking scary. And I realized watching this debate, they're all that guy. They're just boring versions of it. It's an entire debate where everyone agrees that Antifa and Black Lives Matter are terrorist organizations who should be dealt with to the fullest extent of the law. It's people who don't believe in COVID. It's people who believe that the election was rigged. And there's not a dissenting voice amongst them. And that's what's so fucking scary is I'm finally starting to see debates where it's not just one or two weird fascists. It's entire rooms of fucking fascists now who are running for office. This leaves us to the Democrats, Una. So look, I'll give this to the Democrats. Since 1890, there have been 19 members of Congress who served Wyoming. 5 of them are Democrats, and only 2 have been able to serve for more than one term in Congress. And Democrats haven't held the seat since 1978. The last time the Democrats came even close was in 2006, when incumbent Barbara Kubin got caught in a scandal, and she would still end up winning by 1,000 votes. And the Democrats haven't even topped 30% of the vote since 2008. So what makes this even worse, though, is the National Party has committed to giving the Wyoming Democrats a whole $60,000.
Essentially $1 per person, not even a voter, but just per person in Wyoming.
Yep. And and so the Wyoming Dems are like, all right, we can't really spend this on statewide races. We're spending it on local elections that we have a chance to win. That's all this money will allow us to do. So there's going to be a Democrat candidate. There's going to be a Libertarian. There's probably going to be a Constitution Party candidate. But essentially, whoever wins this Republican primary, that's who the congressperson is going to be. And just as if Liz's hubris couldn't be enough, she's already talking about running for president in 2024. And, I guess leave it to a Cheney to look ahead where they're going to go instead of looking at where they are, which is Virginia. You're in Virginia. You don't, whatever. This is the Wyoming at-large race. I'm so sad.
I mean, when, in terms of your, recognition of like essentially the new generation of Republican, like I hadn't really thought about it until we were reviewing Liz Cheney's career. And especially when she got to Washington, and it was just like this wave of familiarity and like, I don't want to say nostalgia, but certainly like, it's like, oh, right. That's like quintessential Republican that you and I grew up with, where it's just like, yeah, pure evil, like not good. I don't want to fuck around with any of this like patrician bullshit. That was a sham, but it was so markedly different.
Yeah. It's really weird how just like clandestine regime change almost seems quaint compared to what's happening right now. it's only, I mean, it's clandestine regime change in our own country, if anything.
Yeah.
It's to go from this idea of, fiscal conservatism and, just trying, like John Huntsman. I'll use John Huntsman as an example. He was probably like the last Republican I genuinely liked and respected, just because, I mean, the dude was just like, I have my beliefs. I'm not going to push them on anyone, but it's how I'm going to vote. And it's how my constituents expect me to. And like, I can at least respect that. But this is a race as of right now where a Tea Party conservative is being called a liberal because she disagreed with a president once on one verifiably true thing. And suddenly someone who is Trumpy as fuck is now a liberal. And the choice is going to come down between a fascist zealot, an abortion obsessed dweeb.
Yeah.
Or a racist pedophile. And the Democrats have no money to run against it. And it's not like they haven't had good candidates for the past few elections. Last year, Lynette Grable was their nominee back in 2018, and she's a fucking badass. Like, she has worked devoutly in causes regarding domestic violence. She is an absolute fucking badass in multiple regards. And even with amazing candidates, 30%'s the ceiling. But without any money, I mean, it's so fucking frustrating that this is happening. And it makes me angry that Liz Cheney is the better option in all of it.
Yes.
It's so infuriating.
Yeah, no, I feel like the change is like, when we were living in the moment in say 2006 or whatever, and watching the, like, I don't know, bald-faced lies and power grabs within the Republican Party. And it was just like going from like unadulterated late stage capitalism to now post-apocalypse. Like, that seems to be the change in terms of like power and oil and just like money at the expense of even your constituents, to full throttle crazy, like Mad Max level insanity.
Yeah. And I think it's just that what comes with the realization of not having won the popular vote since 2004 is that it's the only way to win now.
Right.
Is to just bring the crazy as much as you goddamn can. And yeah, it's really terrifying to have that realization. And I really hope every other debate I end up watching for this, because I'm definitely going to be looking into Anthony Gonzalez in Ohio. He's one of the folks who voted for impeachment, looking at Jamie Herrera Beutler in Washington, and checking out all these races. And I'm just desperately hopeful that this is just what happens when you're the most conservative state in the nation. But I don't have high hopes. I really don't.
Nope.
Well, on that depressing note, everyone, thanks for joining us. I mean, I wish I had better and fun things to say other than none of these candidates even had good merch. That hurts me. That hurts me to a degree. Well, thank you for joining us. I guess we'll see you next week on Gadfly. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?